Hello, welcome to the Friday night service. If y'all join me in worship and stand with me. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, shame no longer has a place to hide. I am not a captive to the lies. Oh, I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. Oh, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name, power in your name. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name, power in your name. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love.
I searched the world, it couldn't fail me. Man's empty praise, treasures the fake are never enough. And you came along and put me back together. Every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid. peace, your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn grace into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing that's better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn grace into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can.
If you guys would bow your heads in prayer with me. Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to come together and be with one another in community. I pray you speak through Caleb as he preaches tonight, and that we all grow closer to you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Awesome, cool. Oh, this thing is. Oh, that works. So, hey guys, my name is Caleb, and I've met all of you guys now. So, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about me, just recap what you guys already have heard. So, I have graduated now from Central Christian College of the Bible. It's a small college out in the middle of Missouri, and so I love it to pieces. It's my home family. I love them so much. And then also, I am one of two. It's me and my sister. My sister is 4 years older, and she is a nursing student, or she's graduated now, and is in nursing. And so it's us, and then my mom and my dad. So it's a small family, but I love my family to pieces. They're my everything. So I love my family. And one thing that I can remember doing with my family all the time was eating dinner with my family. That was always something that we tried to do ever since I was a little kid to probably about middle school, high school. I was involved with theater and choir, and I don't know if you guys know anything about those, but they take up the majority of your time. And so I had no free time after school. And so that slowly diminished. But I know back in college, I would be able to have meals with my friends, and I just cherish those moments so much. And so as I was thinking through my sermon, I was trying to think about us and how we could relate to this passage a little bit. And first off, I want to say, have you guys ever had those family meals, or maybe you're at dinner with your friends or something, and you just know that there's an elephant in the room? There's just some sort of tension that you can't seem to get over, and you know that a few people may know, maybe everybody knows, but you're just going to kind of sweep that under the rug and hope nobody brings that up. Maybe you're the only person who knows about that elephant in the room. Maybe it is, you're announcing, hey, I'm having a kid, or I'm getting married, or I'm changing jobs. Whatever it may be, I think we also have those times when we're the ones who know there's an elephant in the room, or there might be one soon, but it's only us. It's only us that know about that. And so when I was thinking about this passage, it's John chapter 13. So if you guys have your Bibles, you can go and open there. And Jesus was going through a very similar situation where he's about to die on the cross. And he's had 3 years of ministry with his best friends. He's been traveling around all over Israel. And he now comes to this point where they're about to have dinner. And Jesus knows some stuff that the other disciples don't. I mean, he's already announced to them, hey, I'm going to be dying, but they didn't catch on. That was something hidden from them. And so Jesus knows that he's going to go to the cross tomorrow. And just think about that for a minute. Like, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, how would that feel? What would you be going through? Well, Jesus chose, and I love that he did this, he chose to be with his friends for his last night to be alive. And I think that it's so amazing that that's what he did, because it just goes to show how much he cared about his disciples and cared about his friends. And so let's jump into the text. Starting in verse 1, it says, "Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end." And just setting up, you guys, I don't know if you all know what the Feast of Passovers is, but it's this Jewish festival that happened, and it celebrated, or it remembered when the Israelites had to put blood over the doors when they were slaves in Egypt, right? And so they put the blood over this door, and that symbolized that they were obedient to God, and the angel of death passed over them. So now we come to this moment when this is happening with Jesus, and it's very symbolic that's happening around this time. Gets into the Feast of Passover, and he's having dinner with his friends, and he knows that his hour has come. So he's under a lot of stress. A lot of weight is going on. I can just imagine the thoughts that are racing through his mind, or the feelings that he's working through. And it says that he also knew that Judas was going to betray him. So not only that, but okay, one of my friends is going to betray me, and that's what's going to start this process to me going to the cross. I think that's an elephant in the room that he was dealing with. And I can't even imagine what that's like, knowing that information and having to then go into dinner and have this intimate moment with his friends, knowing that this is all going to happen. And not only that, but then knowing that all of his friends are soon going to be even denying him, maybe, like with Peter, or just scattering after he's captured. And so it says that during supper, when the devil had already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. So Jesus, he knows what's about to happen. He knows he's been given everything by God at this point. And I find what's really fascinating is the fact that since he knows what's going to be happening, he knows his time has come, he remembers what he needs to do next. And it says that during supper, he got up. And what did he do? He laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, do you wash my feet?" And Jesus answered him, "What I am doing you do not know now, or you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand." And Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "If I do not wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also with my hands and my head." And Jesus said to him, No. The one who has bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you. And so I love thinking about this moment when Jesus, he knows he's the Son of God. He knows that he's been given everything by God, and yet he takes off his outer garments, and he humbles himself, and he begins to wash the disciples' feet. And this is the lowest job that a servant can do. It was like the basic job for the lowest servant to do. And it's ironic that their feet already hadn't been washed. If there wasn't a servant around, they would probably do it themselves. So it's kind of, I have no idea why that happened, that they hadn't had their feet washed, but they hadn't. And Jesus goes around and washes all their feet. I find it also interesting that Jesus may not have had his feet washed. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about that before. But he may not have had his feet washed, but he kept himself dirty on his feet. But we know from Peter's response, he's like, Jesus, I do not want you to do this. Like, that is not your job to wash my feet. And he says, no, it is. And you don't understand right now, but you will. And So he goes around and he washes all the disciples' feet. And he says that you are already clean, but your feet need to be washed. And so, I mean, he's painting a picture here with what he's doing. And I think you guys had a Bible study, if I'm correct, maybe about a month ago over this passage. And I don't know if Mark talked about it. I was watching it in a video. And talking about how that was symbolic of his death. He was showing that he was humbling himself and that he was taking the sins away from people. He was washing that part of them that hadn't been clean. And later on, Jesus says, you're already clean by my words. You've already heard what I've said. You've believed in it. So you're already clean. But I need to do this one more thing for you, because if not, then you have no share with me. And so, Peter's like, well, just wash every single part of me. And again, he's like, it's not the point of this. There's more to the story than you know. So what is that? He says, when he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do just as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. And so he finishes out this section here with explaining what he was doing. And he said, if I, your Lord, your teacher, have gotten down and have washed your feet, you need to do the exact same thing. And why is Jesus saying this? Well, he said he was setting an example. But as I was asking God about this passage and what I really wanted to talk about, he laid something on my heart that I had never thought about before. I'd never even considered. Did I lose that? Sorry. Something I'd never considered before. And one, you think about Jesus is washing the disciples' feet as a metaphor for him dying on the cross, as him washing and taking away the sins of people. But yeah, he's also setting an example of service and of serving one another. And later on in the same chapter, it talks about how the commandment that I'm giving you now is to love one another as I've loved you. And so he's showing what that sacrificial love looks like. But what I thought was really interesting, and I don't know about you guys, but I am someone who, service has been something that I've always done. I grew up in church, and so I was always out serving, putting up chairs, or helping on the tech team or in worship. I was always doing something service-wise. And then I came to Bible college, and that's a regular part of what we do, is just service in general. But I kept thinking, then why is it then that sometimes we have a roadblock when it comes to service? We just don't want to serve people sometimes. And I love what God had taught me through this was he was telling me, Caleb, one, I showed us a picture of the gospel, and two, of what you should be doing for other people. And suddenly it clicked. It was like, God, this is amazing. I feel like this is something that could revolutionize what I do. And I don't say that often because that can be really overdone, but I think it can really have an effect on what we do. If you guys think about a boat or a plane, when it's heading to a destination, it tries to go as straight on course as possible. It may have to make some adjustments here and there, but you try to go to your destination pretty straight. But if you make just a slight deviation and you keep that deviation for a while, you'll end up in a completely different place, depending on how far you go. And I feel like this right here about service and how it relates to the gospel is something that it's a small correction that we can make in our mentality, but something that could shift the way that we serve people. And so I just want to bring this to your guys' attention. And again, it's something that I never thought of with service. I can put this down here. Is that when we serve people, we're literally showing them a picture of the gospel message. That when we're serving, and people are wondering, why is this person serving me? Why did they take the time to bend down and pick up my trash that I just dropped by accident? Or my books, or you're at work and you're serving people. Whatever that looks like for you, you're serving those people, but you may do it in a way that's completely different than other people. It's not just service, right? We can all serve and be really good people and serve. That's a part of it, but it's not just be a good person. So I want to just pose to you that little course correction that we can make in our lives is changing our attitudes and our thought about service and thinking of it as an opportunity to show people the gospel through our actions. In the smallest of ways, in the biggest of ways, it can spread the gospel. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's really great. So how does that apply? What does that look like? Well, first off, I just want to pose to you guys that Jesus, when he went to go serve, he took off his outer garments, and he prepared himself to wash the disciples' feet. And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about, okay, well, what are some of the stuff that we need to do to take off the outer garment, to humble ourselves? What can we do to prepare ourselves for serving people? And I think there's some roadblocks that get in the way sometimes. We know that we're children of God, right? We know that we're sons and daughters of God. But we cannot let that stand in the way of us serving people. But I know there's sometimes a disconnect with that, and we don't know how to humble ourselves. One thing I was thinking about is we may have some pride in our life. You're trying to think, I'm trying to serve these people. I'm trying to be a good Christian, but these people aren't. I can't really relate to them that well. But I think that's one thing that we can't let stand in the way, because when I think of Jesus, he went out of his way to serve the people that he didn't even know, right? He decided to take the extra time to go and serve those people. And so maybe there's just some pride lingering in you that you're like, I just feel as if it's really hard to love someone. And that's something that maybe you need to work out in your life. I was also thinking about, sometimes we get bitter about situations. I don't know about you guys. I've had where I get a phone call, a text message, or just a complaint from somebody that just sets you off. Like instantly your emotions are high and you're upset about the situation and you don't know what to do. I've had those text messages. I've had those things happen to me before. And instantly, what's our first go-to? I don't know about you guys, but I sort of want to be bitter about it. I want to be upset that, really, you just did this to me? Like, what was it that I did that you just went off on me like this? That's a bitter root, though, that we can have grow inside of us. And so we can either let that grow, or we can think about, this person's not my enemy, right? When we go to serve people, they're not your enemy. Even if they are someone who's an enemy of you, they're not your enemy. So don't make them your enemy. You may say, though, but Caleb, I'm just too busy. Again, you guys have heard some of my story I was involved with. I had 3 different jobs, taking 17 credit hours. This was kind of my excuse, was I'm too busy to serve. And oftentimes that happened. We got emails from people saying, hey, we need 5 people to go serve at this event. And it was really easy to be like, but I have homework to do, and I don't have time for that, so I'm not going to go do that. And then it ended up everyone having that excuse, and no one ended up serving and helping these people. And I really hated that. I hated to hear about that. And I don't want us to get that mentality that we don't have enough time to serve people. That's something that maybe we need to rethink our priorities and rethink, how are we serving people, or do I need to spend more time with people and be serving them? What needs to look different in that? Maybe you say, I don't know that person though, Caleb. How am I supposed to just approach somebody that I don't even know? I was looking at Ball State statistics, and it was showing that you guys have 15,000 students on campus. There's people you guys don't know. How do you go serve these people that you don't relate to, you don't have anything in common with? But again, did that stop Jesus from serving? No. He just went and served. And again, as we're thinking about changing our motives for it, and if our motive is to show them the gospel, I think this is something that we'll jump on the opportunity to go serve for people, because we are showing them in our actions. And not only that, but what if they ask you, why are you serving me? What's going to be your response? Is it going to be, well, I just saw that you dropped this and I just wanted to help you out with that? Or is that such a great plug for saying, well, that's actually what Jesus did for me, and so I just want to do that for you as well? Just a small little plug of something. But yet, every single time we serve somebody and they ask us that question, we have an opportunity to tell them the gospel, just as Jesus was doing with his disciples. And I just find that amazing. I would have never thought about that before. But you may be asking again, maybe it's, but what can I do for them? They have their lives figured out. Again, this was me. I'm that type of person that I will show oh yeah, my life is all put together. It's great. But it could be completely falling apart. What do you do for those people? Because it doesn't look like they need help with anything. Well, I think everyone here could say, one, that not everyone has their life put together. Nobody. But second of all, doesn't everyone need encouragement? Doesn't everyone need to be just seen and appreciated? These are just small ways of serving people with your words. Maybe not with your actions, but with your words. Giving just some encouragement of, hey, I saw you the other day. I really like that shirt of yours. Or, hey, I heard you did really well on that test. Congratulations. Great job on that. Whatever it may be, those words of encouragement for people can also be a way of serving them. And again, you may say, well, they don't like me, or that person is completely different than me. Again, I just think about Jesus and I'm like, he wouldn't have let that stop him. And again, when we see our motives that we're sharing the gospel with this person through our actions, I think that'll change our motives in that. But then there may also be some emotions that are going on within you, such as a wound that has happened in your life. We all, I think, probably have those people who have hurt us really, really bad, and things are now awkward between you and that person, and you don't know how to handle it. I think that wound, oftentimes we let that kind of sit in our hearts because of unforgiveness. We don't want to forgive that person and say, I forgive them despite what they did to me. And I had a situation like this where someone, again, was sending me text messages and like just really blasting me about stuff. And I just want to be like, what are you doing? Why are you coming at me like this? But I didn't. I was very calm. I tried to take it very slow. And in the process, try not to have bitterness inside of me. Try not to allow that wound that they had caused me to get in the way of me still serving them and me still speaking encouragement for them. Also, I really hate this, but we all go through this. What about if you don't feel joy when you serve? Oftentimes, I don't know about you all, I want to feel positive. I want to feel encouraging when I'm going and serving people. That's just, I feel like natural. So what if we don't feel this joy and we're like, how do we go serve people when we're stressed out and we have all this stuff going on? Again, when this is an opportunity to present the gospel, I think it will change that habit within us of saying, okay, hold on. This is a minute to show Jesus to this person. It's going to be worth it. You know, it's not just a little thing going on. And trusting God was saying, God, I don't understand why I need to go help this person. Again, there's so many different excuses, but I'm just going to trust you in faith and go serve them in some little way. What could that do for a person? Again, you're opening up the opportunity to share the gospel with that person. And then also just thinking about you guys who are, doing things this summer with organizations or with a business, or you're here on campus and taking classes. One, if you're working, I think it'd be amazing if you had the mentality of, I'm going to be the first person to serve, right? I'm going to be the first person to jump on this opportunity so that way I can show people the love of Christ. What would that look like? What would it look like if you assisted people on your time off? You took just some of that time that you have a break with and actually served people. What would it look like then maybe cleaning up after your coworkers? I hate doing this. I hate when people leave messes. It's not something I enjoy, but showing them kindness and showing them, hey, can I help you with that? And just helping them in that process, I think will be a game changer. And then sometimes also, I know when we're serving, especially when it's for our job, we can get caught up in, well, I'm here to make money, right? I'm here to support my life, the things that are going on, or your family, or whatever that looks like. We want to serve our family or serve ourselves with that money. But then how does that change our focus of who we're serving? Because then suddenly if you just see the person in front of you as part of your job and it just becomes this Monday thing, then how are you going to be serving that person and showing them the love of Christ through that? I think it's really hard. It's really hard to show someone who we're mindlessly trying to serve. It's really hard to actually show them the love of Christ through that. So maybe that's something else we need to think about. Or seniors, if I was a senior, I love to kind of harp on freshmen because it's like you don't know anything. You have a lot to experience. So much to experience in the next 4 years that you don't even know it's coming. But maybe that's an opportunity for you to set an example and saying, hey, can I help you with that? Or let me show you how to do that. Instead of having maybe that higher than you are mentality, maybe we need to lower ourselves and get on their level and say, hey, I remember what it was like to be a freshman. I know how difficult that is, so let me help you. Let me serve you in some sort of way. Or maybe you're a freshman and you have seniors that you're looking up to, but they're also kind of that snotty, I'm a senior, I'm about to graduate, so bye guys. You may have those people, but how do you approach those people? Do you approach them with respect, or do you approach them with, it's just another senior trying to harp on me, Again, that's another opportunity for us to serve people. I don't know about you all, but this was really hard for me. I was thinking about one more thing, and sometimes there's an opportunity when we get tired of serving. We've just burnt ourselves out on serving people too much. Especially as Christians, depending on what you're doing, especially if you're involved with a church, that can quickly drain you, that you're just constantly serving people and giving everything that you have. And I hate, though, that again hinders us from serving from a pure heart, because then it's a struggle. It's a struggle to keep going in those situations. So one, I want you guys to think about, maybe you have a person in your life or a couple people in your life who are just sucking the life out of you. I had a friend who was like this, who I eventually had to just say no sometimes when they wanted to talk. Say, I'm sorry, but I need to do this right now. It's hard. It's hard to set those boundaries with people, especially when you've had them cross and you're just like, yeah, come on over, or yeah, come talk to me. Like I totally have time when I really don't always have time. You may run into those situations, and those people may be sucking the life out of you. But one, you want to serve them from a pure heart, right? With good motives, good intentions. So if you have to take some time for yourself to set those boundaries and say, I can't just be serving one person. I have to be serving other people. There's other people in my life that need me as well. That may be something that you're dealing with that causes that sense of, I'm just tired of serving. Maybe, though, it is you just give and you give and you give, and you feel like no one is pouring into you. Then you may be the Peter in the story that we just read. You may be the Peter who is saying, Jesus, no, you're not going to do that for me. Like, that's not your job. And I've also done this, where you want to just deny people who are trying to take care of you. They're just trying to say, hey, how can I be there for you? And you're saying, no, I've got this. I actually don't need any help. How's it going? I'm fine, doing great. Life's good. Our response is all the time to things when it's actually not. So in those moments, what would it look like for us to just be vulnerable and say, yeah, actually, I'm just going through a really difficult situation right now. There's some people who say that all the time, and it's very draining, but then it's also okay to just admit those things and to be not okay for a little bit and talk to people and sort through that. People, you guys are here for each other. So be that family, be that group who listens to people. I just feel as if sometimes we get drained by us doing all the work but not getting poured in. But a lot of times it's because we're not allowing people to pour in. And we're not choosing to engage with people and say, how are things going? Let's build a relationship, and then let me just share with you some stuff that's going on. Sometimes it's just that simple of being able to talk through a situation with somebody. They may not even have to say anything. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a verbal processor, so sometimes you just have to say, hey, I just need you to sit there and just listen, and you'll sort it out eventually. You'll get to the bottom of whatever's going on, but sometimes you just need that person just to listen or be a sounding board for. And these are just different things that hinder us from serving. But again, that small course correction of saying the reason I'm serving is not just to serve. It's not just to look like a good Christian and to be all that. It's so I can show the gospel in what I'm doing. And so if we can get that mindset change, I think we can change the trajectory of what we're doing. That when we serve, we recognize those things that may hinder us and say, I'm doing this for Jesus, though. I'm doing this to show the gospel. And if I get a chance that someone asks me, why are you serving me again? I can tell them why. And it's not just because I feel like just doing it out of the goodness of my heart every single day. It's because I want to show you the gospel. And oftentimes, if you have that mentality, you'll probably say, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart, right? Like, it goes together. So what would this look like for all of us if we started to just incorporate that small little change of I serve in order to show people the gospel, in order to tell them the gospel story in what I'm doing? It's such a symbolic action. What would that look like if we all were doing that together? And I think, one, our mindsets and our attitudes would change. I've been saying this throughout this whole time, but our attitudes and our mindset would change. Those moments when we don't want to serve, we do serve. And those times when we just want to be serving, but we don't know why, we can say, well, I want to show the person the gospel through this. Maybe I think another thing that would change is we'd just have more vulnerability. We'd have more tighter relationships with people. And Jesus said, you'll know that the world will know that you're my disciples by your love. So I can just imagine people sitting in this room or sitting in your churches or wherever it may be and saying, guys, I just need to be vulnerable with you for a minute. And the bonds that those create with people. And suddenly now you can go to people and say, well, hey, there's a group of us going to go do this. Like, how about you come with us? And if you want to, talk to me about the situation. What's going on in your life? Showing them the love of Christ in that way, I think can create an atmosphere of vulnerability and openness. I think, though, as I said before, I think it will also raise questions. It'll raise questions here on campus of Why are these people always serving? Why are they always stepping out of their way to do something kind? Whether that's to say something in the cafeteria, whether that is you're walking past someone on the sidewalk, whatever it may be, why are these people engaging with me in some sort of way? Why are they doing that? And you may even get the opportunity that they ask, why are you doing this? And again, share the gospel in that moment. And then I think above all, the thing that will change is that Jesus will be represented wherever we are at. And I just think about how many moments we have to serve people throughout a day, picking up after people, serving people in our workplaces, helping them with assignments, whatever that may look like. There's so many opportunities for us to serve and to show them the gospel. And I think if we just can keep that running narrative in our head of, I'm serving because I'm showing them the gospel, I'm actually portraying the gospel in what I'm doing, that I can humble myself just like Jesus did and serve that person. I think if we do that, we could see a lot of cultural shift, and even with ourselves and with our community right here. So would you guys bow your head with me? God, we just thank you so much for this message, and we thank you for just Jesus' example of willing to humble himself. God in the flesh willing to humble himself to be human and to serve us. It sounds like there's this crazy concept, God, of why would you do this to us? But yet you were setting an example that we need to be sharing people the gospel through our service. And we don't just serve to be serving, God, but we serve for you. We serve for your glory. That's why we do this. And so, God, I just thank you for this small little thing that we often take for granted, but can actually change the way that we do ministry. It can show people, again, the gospel through all of this. And so I'm just thankful, God, that you set this example for us. And I pray that we can find ways to incorporate that in our lives. And whatever that may look like, I pray that we can even do that this week, just finding ways to serve people. And Lord, we just thank you for Jesus. Thank you for that sacrifice. And we love you and we thank you so much. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.